There's a file for sale right now with your entire logged in life in it. This includes every password your browser saved, session that keeps you logged in, and the accounts you swore were locked down. It costs about $1. And nobody had to hack you to make it. If you've been around tech for a while, you already do everything right. You use a password manager, multi-factor authentication on anything that matters, and you don't reuse credentials. The modern Infostealer was built deliberately to make all of that beside the point without exploiting a single bug. It simply collects what your machine already trusts and walks out the front door. Hi nerds, I'm Addie. I've been in cybersecurity for 15 years and I break down cyber threats before they blindside you. Today, I'm going deep on how this actually works, how stealing a browser profile turned into a real industry, how the crew beat the exact defense Google shipped to stop them in 2 months flat, and the one thing they steal that makes your multi-factor authentication pointless. The last part is how the snowflake breaches happened, and it's probably the thing you think about least. Let's get into it. How stealing a browser profile became an industry. The first thing to get straight is that nobody is targeting you. The mental model where a person picks you, studies you, and breaks in is mostly dead for this kind of attack. An Infostealer is a product sold as a subscription model, and the people running one operate a lot more like a SaaS company than a movie hacker. Take Lumma, one of the dominant families of the last couple of years. We know its exact pricing because in May of 2025, Microsoft's digital crimes unit, the DOJ and Europol, seized the infrastructure and published the internals. It's sold in tiers, like any other software business. $250 at the bottom, then $500, then $1,000, and a $20,000 source tier that let a buyer compile their own custom variants. You subscribe, get a builder and a panel, and maintaining the actual malware is somebody else's job. What comes back from an infected machine is a single archive the crews call a log. The volume is the part that's hard to picture. In one 2-month window, that single operation infected around 394,000 Windows machines, and the takedown seized roughly 2,300 domains running the backend. That's one family in one season, and there are dozens of these families. And here's what that takedown actually bought us. By the first couple of months of 2026, Lumma had cratered to about 1% of infected machines, and a stealer called Vidar, the same family you'll watch crack Google defenses in a minute, had taken the top spot at more than 73%, according to Flashpoint. The #1 tool got dismantled by 3 governments, and the market barely even noticed. You can't arrest your way out of a demanding market. This is more assembly line than unique heist, which raises the question anyone who keeps a reasonably clean machine is already asking. How does the log get made on your computer in the first place? It doesn't exploit anything. The thing that throws most engineers about modern delivery is that it carries no exploit at all. The technique is just convincing you to run the malware yourself, and I wish I was, but I am not joking. The one Microsoft tracks as ClickFix is the one worth knowing. You land on a page that throws up a verify your human box, and it mimics the flows you clear without thinking, like Cloudflare Turnstile, Google's reCAPTCHA, or a Discord verification screen. The difference is that this one hands you steps. Copy this line of text, open run, paste, and hit enter. And because you've cleared 10,000 legitimate versions of that exact friction, a surprising number of people follow the steps they're given. What you pasted, though, was a command, usually a single line that quietly downloads the real malware. You ran it yourself, as yourself, so there was nothing to break in past and nothing for your security tools to flag as a break-in. Microsoft now logs ClickFix as the single most common way Lumma lands. It's social engineering aimed straight at the muscle memory of clicking through these boxes, and it gets around your whole setup because you open the door from the inside for them to get in. The other vectors are the classics that never died, like malvertising on the search results for popular tools and cracked software, the keygen, the free build of the paid app, or the game mod. It's the same move. You go looking for something and run the wrong copy. Either way, the code is now running as you with a few seconds before anything notices. So what does it actually take? The password is the cheap part. Open a log and the first things in it are obvious. You'll see your safe browser password, passwords, autofill, and saved cards. Microsoft documented Lumma grabbing exactly that out of Chrome, Edge, and Firefox. But that's not all. The contents that actually matter are the ones that aren't passwords. That's your session cookies, which I'll come back to because they're the real prize. On a developer's machines, they're the keys and logins they use to reach their company's systems, which is exactly why a programmer's laptop sells for more than a regular person's. Next are crypto wallet files, the login tokens for apps like Discord and Telegram, and on a lot of machines, a screenshot of whatever was on screen and a full readout of the system so the buyer can sort logs by what's inside them. That sorting is the tell that this runs like a market. What sets a log's price is what those passwords and tokens actually unlock, which is why your reused streaming password is worth nothing, while the same file might quietly hold away into your employer. But all of this assumes the stealer can just read your browser's saved data straight off the disk. Modern browsers encrypt that. So how is it still this easy? Google tried to fix this, but it lasted 2 months. For years, lifting a browser's saved passwords was almost insultingly easy. The browser has been able to unlock them for itself, which means the key has to sit somewhere any program running as you can reach it. Google knew it, and in July 2024, in Chrome 127, they shipped a real fix called app-bound encryption. The idea is sound. Instead of a key any of your programs can grab, Google handed it to a lockdown corner of Windows that's supposed to check the request is genuinely coming from Chrome before it gives the key back. Lock the key to the app, and a stealer running as you shouldn't qualify. It held up for about 2 months. By late September 2024, the crews had beaten it. Elastic's researchers watched StealC and Vidar crack it first, then Infostealer, then MetaStealer, then Femidrome, and Lumma shipped its own version by mid-October. And the trick was almost funny if it wasn't so depressing. If the system will only hand the key to Chrome, then the malware just pretended to be Chrome and asked for it. The defense assumed an attacker couldn't impersonate the browser on a machine the attacker is already sitting on, as you, and that assumption fell apart immediately. Google keeps patching, the crews keep adapting, and at this point, it's a minor inconvenience for them instead of some kind of wall. Which brings up the question a lot of you actually clicked for. If a browser's own storage is this soft, does a real password manager save you? Mostly yes, and it's worth knowing why. A dedicated manager like 1Password seals your vault with strong encryption, AES 126, and the key to open it is never on your machine. It needs your account password, which only lives in your head, plus a separate secret key that stays on your own device and never travels the network. So even when a stealer copies the whole vault file off of your disk, what it walks away with is a sealed safe. Copy the safe all you want, without the combination, it's a heavy box of nothing. There are 2 edges here worth knowing though. A vault only protects you while it's locked. If you leave it sitting open, and it's the same thing as an open safe. So the window that matters is the time yours spends unlocked. Separately, and this one isn't malware at all, but at DEF CON last year, a researcher named Merrick Toth showed that a malicious web page could make a password manager's autofill box invisible and trick you into clicking it, handing over whatever it would have filled in, including your password, 2-factor code, card number, or even a pass key. He tested 11 of them across tens of millions of installs, and some still hadn't fully fixed it months later. That's a booby-trapped website, so keep the 2 separate. But it's a real soft spot on the tool I'm about to tell you to use. The headline still holds. A locked, dedicated manager beats the browser by a mile. So if your vault holds, you're safe, right? They don't need your password. So let's go back to those session cookies, because this is where the whole password conversation starts to fade away. A session cookie is the thing that keeps you logged in. You sign it once, clear your 2-factor, and the site hands your browser a token so it stops asking you on every page. Think of it like the wristband you get at a venue. They check your ID once at the door, snap the band on, and after that, nobody checks anything. You just flash the wristband and go where you want. The cookie is that wristband for your accounts, and it's exactly what the stealer takes. So picture it from the buyer side. There's no login screen involved at all. They drop your stolen cookie into their own browser, and the site loads you already logged in mid-session because as far as it can tell, you walked past the door an hour ago. There's no password to guess and no 2-factor code to beat because the wristband already says you cleared all of that. Your second factor guards the door. The stolen wristband walks straight past it. You watch this play out in 2024 with the wave of breaches at companies using Snowflake, trace straight back to logins and session cookies pulled from Infostealer logs on ordinary, often personal machines, and then used against company accounts that had never turned two-factor on. Snowflake itself was never breached, and that distinction matters. The customer's own accounts were walked into with valid stolen sessions. The names downstream were the ones you know, like Ticketmaster, AT&T, and others with hundreds of millions of records between them. The way into some of the biggest data leaks of the year was a Stealer log off of somebody's laptop. So what actually breaks this chain? What actually raises their cost? You can't make yourself untargetable because you were never targeted in the first place. Instead, what you can do is make your log boring and your stolen session worthless. And the fixes that matter line up exactly with what we just walked through. Start with the cookie because it's the worst of it. Use the strongest second factor you possibly can and a passkey or physical security key instead of a texted code. Beyond stopping the obvious password guess, these are the kind of login that newer systems can tie to your actual device, so a cookie that gets stolen and replayed from someone else's computer starts failing the check. That's the highest leverage habit in this whole video, and almost nobody leads with it because everyone is still arguing about how long your password should be and its complexity. But then there's the delivery. That fake verify your human trick has one tell that never fails. No real website has ever needed you to open a command window and paste something in to prove that you're a person. That is never a real step. The second check asks you to copy something and run it. You are the thing that it's trying to exploit in that instance, so please just close the tab. The rest is the unglamorous stuff that still works. Like get your passwords out of the browser and into a real manager. Never LastPass. I will say this over and over again, never, ever, ever LastPass, and let it lock when you step away. And install your updates the same day whenever they show up, because the same crews that beat Google's fix in 2 months are very good at the gap between patch existing and you actually clicking install. So none of this makes you absolutely bulletproof, and it doesn't really need to. The goal is to make yourself expensive, because in a business moving stolen lives for $1, expensive is the whole point. If you like this video about Infostealers, you'll love this one about the password manager you should never consider using. I'll see you in that video next.